For me, the analysis and activism group has long been the closest thing in my professional life to what Kurt Vonnegut called a karass. The notion comes from his 1963 novel Cat's Cradle, and it feels especially resonant now, some 60 years on. Perhaps a distant cousin of the more contemporary Silo, but with a far more soulful sense of interconnectedness. Vonnegut imagined a whimsical, mystically ironic kind of human grouping. In the novel's invented religion of Bokanism, a karass is a group of people spiritually linked to one another to fulfill a collective purpose, often without knowing it. Its members may be strangers who never meet, yet their lives and actions intersect in surprising ways. And when you do encounter someone in your karass, the souls are said to resonate at once, even when no obvious connection exists. A karass, in short, is a soulful gathering of people who share the deepest concerns. And I have come to believe that the concern binding analysis and activism together is among the deepest there is, the conviction that the inner life and the life of the world cannot be held apart, that there is no healing of the psyche that turns its back on a suffering world, and no lasting repair of the world that neglects the soul of the one who attempts it. Analysis without activism risks becoming a private consolation. Activism without analysis risks becoming another form of the very unconsciousness it means to fight. To hold the two together, to insist that depth and action belong to each other, is difficult, unfashionable, and I think essential. That is the yearning that makes analysis and activism a karass and not merely a professional society. And I have felt this most keenly in the moments of friction. In 2017, I gave the opening talk of our conference in Prague on the theme of extinction anxiety. No sooner had I finished than a participant from Latin America rose from the back of the room and challenged the whole premise of my talk, branding the very notion of a cultural complex a first world concept that had little bearing on much of the rest of the world. I was taken aback and, of course, not especially glad that this was the first response to my talk. I did not think the challenger was right. I believed then, as I do now, that the concept applies to much of the world and not just the first world. But it was a real encounter, and that is what made it both painful and soulful, even though it took me a long time to get over what had felt at the time like an attack on what was most important to me. And yet, even then, I knew I was among a rare kind of company, a group whose members could take one another on. And it's precisely because they were bound together by that same yearning for the common good and the same refusal to keep the soul and the world in separate rooms. That is a karass. That is what I have found in analysis and activism at its best.